Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I'm JC, and this is Grace Overflowing. In today's video, I want to share a dream with you guys. I had this dream a couple of weeks ago, and what is so interesting about it is that the Lord has been revealing to me over the course of the last week that some of it has come to pass. And I think it pertains to me in terms of the symbols and the meanings that He's given me, but I also believe that it pertains to this nation and this great work that we are waiting on Him to deliver to us. So with that said, I want to share the dream. But before I do, I want to make a little suggestion that as I'm talking through this, before I get to the explanation, that you keep the Garden of Eden in mind, as there is an interesting element that might seem a little weird without kind of putting it in that context. So with that said, let me share the details of this dream. So I was in my boss's office. He was working, I was working. I was standing in front of a large wall doing shelving of some kind, and I had my back to him. He was to my right at the head of the room, sitting behind a desk doing work. I remember kind of looking over my shoulder at one point, and he just had his head down and he was working. And I happened to look down at myself, and I realized that I was totally naked. Now, I will say that at this moment, it did not seem odd. It did not seem awkward. It did not seem anything but innocent and normal. So I'm just working, and so is he, and I just happen to be naked. But then, all of a sudden, my attention got pulled over my right shoulder again toward the entry to the office. And there was a coworker standing in the doorframe. And the minute I saw him, I felt convicted. I felt that there was finger pointing. I felt that there was an exposure there that should not have happened. And it instantly burdened me. Then the next thing I know, there was another coworker standing in the door frame. And from there, the scene shifted, and I was now sitting in front of my boss's desk, only instead of him sitting behind it, these coworkers were lined up, almost leaning over the desk, kind of accusing me, kind of coming at me, kind of almost like pointing a finger at me. And I just remember sitting there defending myself, trying to explain, trying to clear my name, trying to make it understood that there was nothing wrong with what I had done. Now, this went on for, a few seconds, and I knew that my boss was standing behind me. He wasn't being accused, and he also wasn't coming to my defense. He was just watching from behind, until at one point, as I'm defending myself, I had this feeling of instant and total victory. I knew that I had won, whatever this was. I don't know if you would call it a debate. I don't know if it was a trial, whatever it was, but I knew that instantly I was vindicated. I knew that I had been victorious, and I jumped up, even though it wasn't the coworkers who had conceded. They were still very much leaning in. They were very much still accusing. And I don't even think that they knew until I jumped up knowing that I had had this victory. Victory had been received, and it was mine. At that point, my boss, who had been behind me, he's now standing in front of me, and I run up to him. I jump on him, kind of wrapping my arms around him. Actually, I remember just wrapping my whole body around him. I kind of jumped up on him a little bit, my legs, and I remember just, he was celebrating, he was happy, I was celebrating, I was happy, and in a moment, we just had this huge smooch just right on the lips, and it was just like, let's go. It's time to celebrate. And I noticed that I had at that point on a black sparkly party dress. And I started looking around, as in my spirit, I knew that I wasn't the only one. We weren't the only ones going to celebrate. It was like, let's get everybody together. Let's get this party on. Like, let's go celebrate. And that, my friends, was pretty much the entire dream. Now, many of you could probably piece together, especially giving you that Garden of Eden hint, the meanings behind this. But I'm going to go ahead and briefly touch on it, even though I'm trying to keep this video a little shorter. But as many of you may have guessed, the boss in this dream was God. He symbolizes God and Jesus, and the fact that I work for them. I answer to them. What I'm doing right now with YouTube, this platform, I am their worker, and I am trying to be about my Father's business, and He is overseeing me on this mission that I believe He has put me on. And my nakedness, I believe, very much points to the exposure that I have received related to things that I have shared, dreams that I have shared related to the election. There are a lot of the church body, a lot of believers and unbelievers alike who have been, as I said in the last video, kind of coming against me and not understanding me. And there's a lot of accusations and a lot of finger pointing, and I think that that's what this part of the dream speaks to. And the fact is that it's coming true. I mean, it's already come true. And the interesting thing is that mainly, like I said in my last video, the conflict is from within. These people were my co-workers. We are one body, the body of Christ. And so these co-workers were the ones who kind of had me on trial in this situation. So the moment when I knew that I had received victory, I think that points to, I believe the Lord has revealed to me that, victory will be His. Victory is His. He is the one who is governing. He is the one who is deciding not only the situation as it relates to me, but also as it relates to the corruption, all that has happened throughout this election process, and even as it stands. He is the one governing over that, and the final word, the decision, will be His. Now, as it relates to the kiss and the embrace, I think that very much also strengthens this notion that, I am being held. And when I kind of jumped up into His arms, that, I'm being held by God, as we all are. But in that moment, I was celebrating that victory that He had given, and that He had always had control over it, and I was always His, and He was always watching over. Even though it was uncomfortable for a moment, even though I had to defend myself for a moment, it was made right. And I believe the kiss symbolizes me acknowledging Him, that what will be in the end will be governed and dictated, will be the words spoken out of His mouth. Acknowledging that it's Him who is over all, and the fact that He kissed me. And I have spoken a lot of things that I have believed in faith out of my mouth. I just believe that this is a symbol that what I have spoken in faith, that it was true, that there was no guilt. There's a Bible verse that says, when the coal was placed on His lips, and instantly His guilt was resolved. Was no guilt, no sin. I think that part of the dream kind of spoke to the reality of that I had been vindicated by the Lord. And finally, the fact that I was in this black, sparkly party dress, and we were about to go celebrate, and it just wasn't me. It was more than me. It was going to be a big celebration. You guys, I think that points to our nation, everybody that's kind of waiting on the Lord. Everybody that right now is in that uncomfortable space, waiting. I believe that this dream is showing me that victory will be His, and we will all be celebrating as a result. My friends, I appreciate you joining me today. I hope this message encouraged you. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and guide you and fill you with His perfect grace overflowing.